Hey friends, if you're looking for quick tips to help you jumpstart your week, you are in the right place. I'm Lori Palau, host of the popular weekly podcast Organized Life, founder of Simply Be Organized, and every Monday I am here to bring you a quick organizing tip in under 15 minutes. All you have to do is click the subscribe or follow button wherever you're listening, and let's get started. Hi everybody, and welcome to this week's Tip of the Week. I am your host, Lori Palau. And if you're new here, welcome. So glad to have you. One of the things I keep forgetting to tell people, so I'm going to remind you at the top of the episode is, if you wouldn't mind, or if you're not already, could you guys head on over after you're done listening to this to YouTube and click the subscribe button over there. So in addition to our audio podcasts, wherever you are listening, we also have a YouTube channel. And believe it or not, there are people that prefer to watch our conversations or our episodes as opposed to listening. If you are watching right now, I'm sorry because it is the middle of the summer and my hair is in a messy bun. But hey, we're all about authenticity here. So this Organized Life podcast on YouTube, it really helps us. The more people that we get to subscribe and watch our show as well as listen to our show, the easier it is for other people to find us. And truthfully, we just love being able to put out this free content for you guys. So thank you so much from myself and the entire team here at TOL Podcast. So today's episode, I actually am kind of like moving things around because I wanted to record this based on a sermon that we just heard yesterday at church. And it was all about being neighborly. And so the church that we go to has a couple of different campuses. And yesterday they had a combined service for the 4th of July weekend. So that's the time that we're recording this. And so we were all outside on this big lawn, and the pastor was really just doing this whole talk about the importance of being neighborly and what that looks like. As I was sitting there listening and kind of nodding in agreement with the things that he was saying, I started to connect the dots about how this shows up in people's lives when it comes to the world of organization, and how do we fit that in the things that we are doing either consciously or subconsciously. And there were kind of 3 main points that I wrote down. So I just kind of want to talk through them, because being neighborly can look a lot of different ways to a lot of different people. And depending on where you live and the season of life you're in, and if you live in a city or if you live in the country or if you live in the suburbs, that's going to all have a different connotation. But for all intents and purposes today, I'm just going to talk about kind of where my life is right now. I live in a suburb. I'm surrounded. It's like suburb / rural. So I'm in a neighborhood in the country, if that makes sense. And, I think when it comes to being neighborly, there's a couple of different takeaways that we can look at. One of them has to do, which to me is one of the most important things, has to do about hospitality. And we've done episodes on that, like our longer episodes about how I value that. And I think that there's so much that can be gained from hospitality with the people that are in your everyday walking path of life, and what that looks like, whether it's having your neighbor over for a cup of coffee or an impromptu barbecue or pizza night or whatever that looks like. And I think being neighborly, a lot of times when it comes to being organized, there can be a roadblock there, because if people are dealing with shame or embarrassment over the way that their house looks, a lot of times that will prohibit you from being as hospitable as you might want, in the sense of inviting somebody over to your house. Or on the flip side, you may just feel a little bit intimidated to do that. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to challenge you out there to think about the purpose of being neighborly is to hopefully build relationships, build those connection points. And so even if your house isn't as organized as you want, or things aren't exactly air quoting perfect, I still encourage you to work outside your comfort zone, to extend that first olive branch in the world of hospitality, going first. I think that's so, so important. The second point, which he talked about, and I think is super valuable, especially when it comes to the world of of clutter and organization is about sharing. And this is especially true if you live in a community like I do, where you're in close proximity to people. And instead of every single person, the analogy he was using was talking about how his neighbor has a snowblower and the neighbor snowblow would, snowblow the whole street and he would shovel, and how it didn't really make sense for everybody to have a snowblower because we can all share. And I think there's so much value in that when we think about the things that we accumulate in our homes. And a lot of times, is it stuff that we really need to take on, or is it stuff that we can share? I know I was just over at a barbecue at friends of ours' houses the other day, and they have a ton of like entertaining platters, and so do I. And I was like, if I'm having another barbecue and I want to add something new, instead of running out to go buy something, let me just see if there's a friend of mine or neighbor that I can say, hey, do you have a new platter or a new dish or a new whatever? And just borrow that. Because sometimes we want to zhuzh things up and we want to make it a little bit different. We don't want to have the same thing. But instead of running out to go buy and replace, think about who you can share with. And the same holds true with offering up the stuff that you have to other people. So whether it's, hey, I'm having a party and I've got extra folding tables or chairs or chafing dishes, whatever it looks like, offering that up is such a gift to people, and it helps reduce that clutter that a lot of times we accumulate in our homes. And the third thing is about being neighborly. It comes to do with asking for help. And again, this can look in the way of like, hey, I'm moving something, I need an extra set of hands, or I want to spend an uninterrupted hour maybe decluttering my closet. Can you watch my kids for an hour, or can you help get my kids off the bus? And having those connection points with your neighbors, having some relationships, and a lot of that, you're not going to just do it out of the blue unless you're in an emergency, but developing some relationships with your neighbors doesn't mean you have to be best of friends, doesn't mean you have to hang out 24/7, but just having some reciprocal relationships with the people that are in your kind of like immediate circle is really important. And for some whatever reason, a lot of us look at that as a sign of weakness or that we are going to be a burden to somebody. And I think we need to reframe that narrative and think about, how would we respond if someone asked us? Like, I know if somebody called me and said, hey, listen, can you watch my dog, pick up my kids? If you're running to the store, can you grab these 3 things that I forgot so that I don't have to? Of course, I'm going to do those things. And I would not feel like it was an inconvenience or how dare they. And on the flip side, if it's something that you can't do, it's okay to say, you know what, I'm sorry, I would love to help, but I'm running out right now. Or, I'm not going to be able to help you this time, but please next time call me. I mean, that happened with my girlfriend Jen the other day. She called me and asked me if I could watch her dog. And I said, I would love to watch your dog, but I'm about to run out. So is there anywhere else? Can we do something else? And she was like, no, no problem. We got it. But at that particular time, it wasn't, I didn't want to help her. It didn't work in my life at that moment. But 9 times out of 10, it does work out. And I'd be happy to watch her dog or her kids or whatever that looks like. So again, don't be afraid to ask for help. That is what community and being neighborly is all about. And the more that we can develop these connection points and relationships with other people, the less we realize we need the stuff to fill those voids. And so it all again becomes this like big interweaving, interlocking kind of connection point to living this more simplistic, organized life. So again, your tip of the week is to think about, how can I be neighborly? What are the things that I can do in my life? Maybe I can offer something up to share. Maybe next time, before I think I'm going to go to Home Goods and go buy something or whatever, maybe I'm going to think, oh, can I reach out to somebody and ask them for that? Or maybe I'm just going to, the next time I see somebody outside pick up the mail, I'm going to say, hey, do you want to come over for a drink on my, back porch, or have a cup of coffee? Just having those neighborly interactions helps build relationships. And then we realize that our value comes from more than just the surface stuff that we see. So I hope you found this tip useful. Again, if you're liking our show, please click the subscribe, follow button. Leave us a review. We love reading them, and plus it helps other people know that our show is worth listening to. People do listen to them. It's such great credibility for us when other people hear it from you. So thank you in advance. We love what we do for you guys. So continue to tune in. We'll be back on Thursday with our long form episodes and back again next Monday with our tip of the week. Until then.